So today my girlfriend and I are going on a short little mini road trip. It'll just be a day trip out to some interesting things on the north side of the Great Salt Lake, out in the desert there. It's a pretty remote area, there's not much out there, and I've never been out there, so it should be a fun day. So we're at our first destination for the day. It's a really neat but kind of bizarre place. This is called the Spiral Jetty. It's an art project, installation. And then on either side right now, this is the Great Salt Lake out here. And right now the water level, I guess, is relatively low. And so on either side of the Spiral Jetty are the mud flats, but then you can see beyond the pinkish red, that's the Great Salt Lake. We're the only ones out here right now, but we passed a couple of cars that might be heading in this direction also. There were several cars that were leaving. We're going the other way, but we're the only ones out here right now. This place is about an hour and a half from where we live. Great Salt Lake is kind of a funny thing. It's so big and it's so close. It's within, an hour drive of most of the people that live in Utah, the majority of the population. But no one ever comes to the lake. I definitely wish I had a drone for things like this. This is definitely something that you could best appreciate from the air. The lake doesn't smell great. It does smell like the Salton Sea when I was there a couple months ago. Luckily it's April and still a bit chilly, and so it doesn't smell too bad. The jetty is over here, and then to the east, these are the Promontory Mountains. And they're on a peninsula that sticks out into the middle of the north end of the lake. We were the only car when we got here, and now that we're leaving, there are 6 other cars in the parking lot. It's nice to have the place to ourselves for a little bit. So right now we're at Golden Spike National Historic Site. This is Promontory. It used to be a little town. Now it's where the visitor center is. This is the railroad here. So in 1869, this is where the two sides of the first transcontinental railroad met. One side of the railroad was started being built in Omaha, Nebraska, and they went west. That was the Union Pacific, and then the Central Pacific started in San Francisco and went east, and they met here in Golden Spike, what is now Golden Spike National Monument. The actual Golden Spike itself was the last railroad spike hammered in to complete the Transcontinental Railroad. That spike isn't here, it's actually at a museum in Stanford, California right now. So I think this is just a recreation of what was originally here. This is the last tie laid on the railroad.
I can step on saw it. I stepped on it. That's just small. Do you want me to write this in? And then...
Those locomotives were not the originals. They were, those were replicas, built in 1970, I think the ranger said. And the originals were scrapped in the early 1900s for $1,000 each because they were not deemed to be historically significant. And looking over to the mountains over here, I realized that I could see where I live. So I live at the base of this mountain here. This little arch that we're hiking up to is called Chinese Arch. It used to be called Chinaman's Arch, but that wasn't exactly the most politically correct name, so it was changed like 5 or 10 years ago, something like that. And it's a neat little limestone arch. It's named Chinese Arch because a lot of Chinese workers worked on the railroad. This rocket garden is only a few miles from Golden Spike, and it's outside of a company that manufactures rockets and like this big rocket here. That's a solid rocket booster for the space shuttle. So this company, which is called ATK or Thiokol, just makes these rockets, so they have this little rocket garden that you can visit. Here we are at Crystal Hot Springs. It's spring break, so it's gonna be pretty crazy today. We just got out of the hot springs, and even though it was kind of like a more swimming pool than natural hot spring, the water was nice and hot, and it was fun. So that's it for today's adventure. We're gonna head back home now, and thanks for watching.